Welcome back, everybody, to the Insightful Podcast. We gain insight in order to move forward in life. I know it's been a while, guys. It's been over a month since I've posted a podcast episode, but we're coming back with another great one with a new guest, and that is Ace. Ace, how you doing today? Good, good. So I like just jumping straight into it, kind of getting into your story, bro. So could you start off, I guess, by introducing who you are and what you kind of do?
Journal days, post my message of vulnerability basically and give my own takes on relationships. My videos are basically just things I write down, but I post them in video form. I'm someone who struggled with drug addiction and lots of vices, but I've overcame them and I just want to spread my message and be the person for other people that I needed when I was younger, in essence.
Nice, very nice, bro. So I guess when it comes to like the whole social media aspect of everything, when did you kind of start posting and like what was the inspiration? Was it to like help others that maybe be in a similar position that you were in?
That's a great question because I've only been uploading consistently for 2 months. I started a while back. I'm not sure if you know of Higher Up Wellness, but I basically did his public speaking challenge and I just
Mm,
ran with it from there for around 6 months. I didn't see much growth, but I started uploading around mid October, just spreading the message, in this format right here where I just use my headset and the webcam mic and just winging low quality videos but spreading a message that was true to me, and I didn't really expect it to reach a large audience because I didn't think the videos performed well or anything, but I just wanted to spread my own message, and now helping people, it just feels great doing so I can confidently say now that I am trying to reach a larger audience and help people.
that's amazing, bro. So I guess did you kind of see that maybe people were dealing with similar things to you and that related to your content, or was it something that like you were more surprised with because of the feedback you were getting?
Yeah, I 100% was surprised. I didn't think a lot of people
Mm,
related to me because, especially in my own interpersonal life, I don't really know many people who went through the exact same struggles or similar ones. So, for all the people that watch my content and support my videos, there's a lot of parallelism where a lot of the life events they will line up, and we've kind of experienced the same things, but in different timelines of other people's lives, right? I was really surprised, all the ones that have a million views or the ones that reach a large amount of people. I was surprised to read the comments, and a lot of the things resonated with me because of how similar they were.
yeah, that's like I guess like the funny thing about the internet, bro, is like you're kind of saying like sometimes in your own like life in person, you feel as if like you're the only one that has these struggles or these problems, but the internet kind of connects the people that all have a similar experience. And
Exactly.
that's when like you're able to like for example, you if you post content, you're able to help others like get through like what you kind of went through, right?
Yeah.
So, are you open and okay to talk about I guess like what those struggles exactly were and how you came out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
So I guess when it like when it comes I guess to the beginning where I guess things started to happen.
yeah, so I would say I think the most prevalent is probably my addiction with lust. I kind of beat around the bush, but I don't really just say it because honestly, I'm a little bit embarrassed to talk about it and open up fully. But I would say it started from a really young age. I was introduced to that thing and adult content around the age of 7, which is really young. And being introduced to it so young, it was really, I don't know how to, it's really provocative. And I was hooked on it from my teenage years as well. So it was everything at once. So that happened and it carried on through my teenage years. And I would say around the age of 13, I was prescribed prescription drugs and I was hooked on them. I couldn't tell you what it exactly was. I'm pretty sure it was Xanax. And I was just a heavy pill popper every single day. And I just was in this endless loop where I would just chase endless dopamine. And anytime I hit a low, I would just take my medication. And I didn't have any purpose, was failing classes. I didn't have a social life, and I was super addicted. And I would say around the age of 15 or 16, because I'm 19, and around the age where I was in sophomore year, people made it obvious that I was falling behind. I was getting bullied. I was getting made fun of, and I was overweight too. So I didn't really have anything going for me at the time. So I realized that this wasn't going to stop. I realized that I needed to make a change because I was just tired of being tired. I didn't like that people commented on my body, and I didn't like the fact that I felt bad. I wasn't attractive growing up, so all of it just added together, and I just thought I need to make a change for the better and try to break free from some of these things. And some of them took a little bit longer, and some of them were really, how do I say it? Some of them took longer to break, and some of them lingered around in still I deal with, right? But
Hmm.
I would say when it comes to the drug addiction, I think that was probably one of the easier ones because I realized I just had to taper it down and then deal with the withdrawal. And I really don't have a lot of evidence based things to break free from drug addiction itself. I'm not the most qualified, I'm not an addiction person, but I would say that I was able to get it from 7 days a week down to six, and then eventually five, four. And when I felt good enough and confident enough that I could deal with it, I honestly went cold turkey on myself. And it was painful, it was difficult, but for a month straight, I did it. I forced myself to just throw out all the medication, nowhere to access it. And I was able to break it by probably 16 and a half during my, I think it was sophomore year. So it was around the midst of high school. I don't really have a great memory back then, but I broke free from my drug addiction, and what was left was just the insecurities physically, being overweight, being out of shape, and dealing with this distorted sex perception in my own mind. And I would say I broke free from that around 18. I would say it lingered around, but I really redefined what it looked like to improve the facets of my own life. I lost around 70 pounds, and I went from
Wow.
230 to 160. It was just crash dieting, the yo-yo diet, whatever. I didn't know what I was doing for a lot of the things. I had no guidance. I had no one to talk to about these things. So I consumed a lot of social media content, so self-improvement. I always ended in this loop and never really made progress for the longest, but it was just a long journey, especially with dealing with everything, especially mentally too, because I dealt with suicidal ideation and all of the mental complexities of it as well. But I think that the way I dealt with things, I definitely didn't do it the way I would do it over again, and I would have more structure, more discipline. I believe that just the reason why I changed in the first place is because I just didn't like who I was, and I knew that it would only continue to get worse. I just realized that change doesn't have to be all at once. I remember
Mm.
one of my online friends, he told me when I had like 90 missing assignments, and I was like, dude, I have to do all of this in like a few days. He was like, you don't have to do it all at once. You can distribute it out within the whole week. You can go a whole day without doing homework as long as you get it all done inevitably. And I took that advice with the gym, right? I didn't enjoy going to the gym. I feared the judgment of others and that perception. So I went 3 days and then 4 days. Same thing with beating my own addiction to lust and everything in that regard. I was doing it 7 days a week. So I found a way to make it six and five and four. And inevitably, as time passed, I didn't hold it to myself to have that identity. So I slowly overcame it. And as I got busier and I developed more relationships and friendships in my own life, it slowly faded out. And I realized that I was no longer addicted and I was in control. It was never, I was in control of it. It didn't control me anymore.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think that's where I feel like a lot of people get confused on what it is to like I guess self-improve if you use like the umbrella term. Is that like people think that one day you're gonna feel a certain way or one day you're gonna have bad habits and the next morning when you wake up they're all gonna be gone, where all these things that you mentioned are all like a part of a process where you slowly start to lean off whatever it is that's like a bad habit of yours, right? It's never just like you wake up one morning and everything's different, right?
Exactly.
So I think it's super important you gave your experience because I think a lot of people like confuse that. And then when they don't wake up the next day and everything's changed, they feel bad about themselves.
Exactly. Yeah. I think a lot of people they expect change overnight and they give themselves a timeline in which they have to fix their problems and break free from the years of bad habits and suffering and think that they have to get it done. And once you don't accomplish that, pain is like a frequency of waves, right? There's the highs and the lows. And as soon as you get really high and you have a good day and you expect a lot of things to go your way, and then you come crashing down and you fail and you feel miserable and you're back to square one. So it's all about how well you can apply yourself consistently. And I'll always touch over that. You just have to be consistent enough and not hate the process itself. Otherwise, it'll come back worse, in my opinion.
100%. You got to enjoy the process of change. And like you're saying, like if there's highs and there lows, you just have to accept the whole process for what it is. And that, it's not always going to be, you're going to be feeling good about yourself or feeling good about the change. And sometimes it's going to suck. And I think I've been dealing with that a lot too recently, bro. If I'm being honest, is like I'll have like one day a week where I'm in like total despair and I feel like what's the point and like feel like giving up on my goals, whatever it may look like. And I just got to understand that, like, especially when it comes to goals too, is like if you're trying to achieve something great, it's not going to happen overnight. And yes, people say that, and sometimes hearing that is not enough. You kind of just have to constantly remind yourself that it is that way, because that's when you get into those like pits of despair and like almost like you want to give up. And it's weird because I feel like as your responsibilities grow and as like your life becomes more busy, it's like harder to like settle down your mind when you're getting thoughts like that. So I guess like what advice would you give to someone, even for me, where like you kind of get thoughts like that frequently, like overwhelming feeling, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I think grounding yourself and being present is the most important thing, and understanding that every day matters, every minute matters. When I heard the quote that every week is 2% of the year, I realized that every day is compounding for something that you're trying to build. So every time
Mm,
that I question, because I work two jobs personally, I always thought back. I work 6 days a week, 50 hours ish, 55 hours. I always told myself, well, what's the point of this? In 5 years, if I keep doing this, where will I be and how will this fulfill me? But I realized that I don't worry about tomorrow. I don't worry about the future. I worry about right now, because right now is all I can fix and worry about and apply myself. And wherever the hard work goes, the results follow. I think that's non negotiable in understanding, because if you apply yourself, you have the right systems, you work smart and hard, there's no reason you should fail. You'll never fail as long as you don't quit. So I think understanding that those are all limiting beliefs, all questioning why, what is my purpose, but your purpose is a lot deeper than just, well, I want to succeed and I want to retire my parents, or I want to become this person. The person you are going to become is not much different from the person you are now. You still eat, you still sleep, you still are physically active. You just have
hmm
to really keep applying yourself and realize that that person is just you right now. If you take 4 or 5 different decisions every single day, take those actions and apply yourself, you're not going to be much different as a person. You just keep working hard every single day, or not, even if it's not every single day, then you apply yourself the majority of the times and you show up. I think that a lot of it has to do with just grounding yourself and reminding yourself, as you mentioned. But you don't want to have this stressful system. If you keep
mm
if you always convince yourself you have to do it 7 days a week, you're going to be a lot more hard on yourself. You're going to bash yourself for your shortcomings. It's about understanding, like, where can you have time to regather and group yourself and plan things out and structure things, because without structure, if you keep running every single day, you're not going to know where you're going to end up.
Yeah, no, that's very true. I think I definitely needed to hear that because it's like I don't know, like you study psychology, right? So maybe you have an answer to this, but why is it that some people have the mind of like in the mindset of like it's never enough? You know what I mean? Like no matter how hard you work, if like you're saying you work 7 days a week and then even then you're still thinking it's not enough. Even though you have no more to give, you still feel that way. Like where does that come from?
Yeah, I think that a lot of us set really high expectations for ourselves. And I'm a second year psychology student. I will admit I'm not the most educated person with all this research back evidence, but I think that we have all of this expectation on ourselves that we're all in our late teens or early 20s, and we always think that we have to achieve the most. And we understand, like, okay, well, we do this, but sometimes it feels like it's never enough. I think that We set things out of our own achievable range. And honestly, I don't have a great answer for this because a lot of us, we just want things to work out. I think we put faith in the process and the journey itself, but if we don't have that immediately, we're not as patient as we think we are, and we always think, well, this is not enough. I have to be doing more. I have to do more. I have to apply myself. I have to take no days off. I think
Yeah.
that we just have to be realistic with ourselves and understand that it's not an overnight process, as you alluded to earlier. But we are always going to feel like we could do more, and that's why we feel like it's never enough. And it's about understanding that your best is more than enough. So as long as you show up, you're at least making progress and stepping forward in the right direction. If you're not doing anything in the first place, then it's reasonable to be like, well, I'm not doing enough. I
Yes.
think the more you put in, the more you're going to get out, and you have to be aware of that consciously.
Yeah, even you saying that, it's kind of like maybe a practice that people can do that could help them out from thinking like that constantly. Is just think about yourself maybe like 3 years ago and what were you doing on a daily basis? How were you spending your time? How were you wasting your time? And you'll see that maybe been a drastic change in on how you go about living your life. And that alone is enough to like see that you are doing enough because the previous you and the you in the past wasn't doing like maybe anything at all or wasn't even trying to push forward towards the future you that you're trying to become. So I think even then, just reflecting on that is important.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great point because your brain is going to adapt to new normals. I feel like my mind didn't change much when I quit all those addictions and vices, and I always beat myself up because, well, I didn't gain 40 pounds of lean muscle in the exact amount of time that I wanted, right? Which is completely unrealistic. But the point being is
Hmm.
that back then I didn't do anything and I beat myself up for it. Changed, and now the bar keeps increasing. I have to keep doing more. I'm in this position right now, and the more I adapt, the more the new normal is to me, and I'm going to want more. So it feels like I'll never do enough. I think a lot of it is understanding where you truly are, and as you alluded to, you have to look back. You look back and everything's different. So if you don't understand that change is constantly occurring, the more you take action and you apply yourself, the more you're going to be ungrateful that you're not doing enough. You have to be grateful that you've done something because things are obviously changing. Change is
Yeah.
growth, and inevitably, you're becoming a different person every single year. And you may not realize it because you're living in that conscious, but over time, you're adapting to new normals. You're adapting to the environment. You're adapting to what's in front of you. Everything is ever changing. So I think a lot of it, I just lost my train of thought, but I think
It's
that,
okay.
yeah,
I
it's
think
there.
I think you definitely got your point across when it comes to it, and
Yeah,
I think that like yeah, no, 100%. And I think that people listening like once again could probably relate to that as well, and hopefully we gave them some clarity on that topic. But I guess my next question for you is like, was it because of these experiences you had in your life? Is that why you wanted to study psychology and get into it?
I think that's a great question. I always wanted to do psychology, but I didn't realize that I was helping people. Right now, I can confidently say, well, psychology is the major for me because I have a platform of 200,000 followers in total. I get to reach a lot of people. I work with people now and I'm helping people. I'm spreading my message. I'm giving insight and I'm doing everything I can to help people and improve their lives. But when I was a fresh 17-year-old or 18-year-old, all I was doing was chasing money. I was lusting over the thought of being financially free, retiring early, and making millions of dollars. So my mind wasn't set and looking at, well, I want to be a psychology major. I always looked at it like, I got to pay for school. I'm going to be in debt. I have to go to master's. I have to do this program. And it's just going to take forever. Why not just do a 4-year bachelor's in computer science and engineering and make a lot of money that way? So I started off in business and computer science thinking that that was my purpose, when in reality, I didn't have any fulfillment. I didn't enjoy the readings or the assignments. I just convinced myself that's what I was destined to do. And once I started uploading videos, I realized that I'm reaching people, I'm helping people, and even just listening to my own friends' problems, I realized that I was pretty good at giving feedback, listening, and being there for people. I was just I needed a reason to trust myself and understand
Mm.
that wherever the hard work goes, the results follow regardless. I'll make it work money wise regardless. So now I have even greater reason to, but back then it was like, well, I have some evidence to switch into psychology, be that person to listen to people, because I've always been someone to listen to people's problems. I just to do that for a living was hard to decide whether or not it was the right choice. But I can confidently say now it is because I'm helping people. I know I'm helping people in some regard.
Yeah, and it's like almost like by the time you get your degree in psychology, like I can only imagine how big your platform will be, right? So it's, if anything, it just proves that, like you're saying, that this is your purpose and this is what you're meant to do, because like even you, without like knowing everything that you're, I guess, supposed to know on paper, you're still helping so many people. So it's like, imagine like within like 4 years what that might look like, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I will only get more educated on the topics I speak about.
Mm-hmm.
I allude to in my videos that if someone cheats on you, they do this, or if you're anxiously attached, do this. I'm not really speaking with any evidence-based facts. I do my own research personally, but I kind of just throw out claims. I'm not really backing myself up, which is probably not the best thing to do and tell a young, impressionable audience. But I speak from anecdotal experience and how I look at the research and see what I applied myself without knowing. So as I become more educated, I will only produce better content and quality videos. So again, I'm ridiculously consistent with my videos. I post 3 times a day minimum on every platform. So obviously, I'm gonna reach a lot more people, even if I don't gain like a million followers. Obviously, like if I reach 100 people every day, like I'm still going to be growing and helping a large amount of people.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I feel like people get, they look towards like what other people's numbers are like and then they start to compare. But even like you're saying, imagine you posted 3 videos a day and they only got 100 views each. Like you're still reaching 300 people every single day, and then you're reaching 2,100 people every single week, and then it just compounds from there, like we were speaking about before. So I think any kind of impact you have on anyone is like, could be life changing for them and you don't even realize it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You don't know what message people haven't heard or have heard. I've heard the
Yes.
same messages from thousands of creators. I've consumed so much social media content saying if someone, or you just need to stop caring what others think and just apply yourself, take action. Well, everyone knows that, but let's just spread a different message. Let's reiterate the same claim, the same purpose, but let's bring emotional vulnerability into it. Let's bring up my own experience personally because well, you need to take action, but what leads you to take action? You don't know why you're taking action in the first place. You just see something striking, provocative, and automatically assume that, oh, I need to apply myself with this 3 a.m. motivation, which you don't. You need to understand that, well, I got hurt in a relationship, or I understand my own attachment style, or I need to break free from my own insecurity that ruins my life in some regard. That's a reason to take action, and that you're just spreading the same. Everyone's spreading the same message, just in different ways, right?
Yeah, and I think that's important because why is it that like, there's like, who knows, a million, over millions of like fitness influencers, for example, but why is it that one person can watch like 30 different fitness influencers, but then that one specific one inspires them the most, right? It's like sometimes like, even in your family, maybe like your older brother says something that really hits and like is life changing, but then like if your dad or if your uncle or someone else said it, it doesn't really do anything for you. You kind of just goes in one ear, goes out the other, right? So I think it's super important that like even if someone's listening that wants to share content and they think like, for example, it's oversaturated, it's like that's never the case, because it's kind of like you're saying, some people could talk about the same things and for some reason it really hits this group of people versus that group.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I guess I kind of want to get into, I guess, relationships and stuff. And my first question is kind of like vague, but I guess we can build off of it. And it is like, what has been the biggest lesson you have learned when it comes to relationships? Is there like one pivotal thing you've learned that kind of changed everything for you?
That's a great question. I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot in the past year and a half because that's the only time I've been dating people. It's been only a year and a half dating people. So I would just say don't ever second guess yourself out of the things that you want in a relationship, meaning that if you feel the intuition like, oh, this is not good, this is not a good sign, really take into account like that is your heart speaking, that is what you truly want. For me personally, I let a lot of things slide and go under the radar, like, man, this person's toxic, but not really. I would always tell myself, I would make excuses and validate the behaviors just because they were there, or because I felt seen, I felt cared for, I felt loved. And in the end, if I had just took action on what I knew to begin with, I would have saved myself so much time from being heartbroken and hurt and having to recover and get myself back on my 2 feet. There's a lot of different things about relationships that I could speak about personally, but I would just say stand firm on your boundaries when you feel those things come about.
I see. And then what would you say to like the person that like finds someone like pretty quickly and it seems like everything is like going right and it's like kind of fits that description of what you want in a person? Do you think that's just like a luck thing? Like you just got lucky, whereas like even if you look at your relationship right now objectively, everything is like exactly what you desire and what you want. Do you think that's a luck thing, or you think there's still part of that where maybe you're not seeing things clearly, or like what's your kind of take on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that people can align perfectly. You can have the same hobbies, same interests. You're both charming, charismatic, funny, and you think that everything's going well, but just because you have a lot of things in common, you see eye to eye, does not tell the whole story. You don't know what someone's like when they communicate, you get in an argument, how they deal with finances. There's a lot more than just bonding quickly and getting to know each other and saying, hey, you date to marry, I date to marry, we're going to get married. There's a lot more that goes into it than just the basic surface level things that you see in somebody. Which, if everything goes right, even if you meet them right now, they're perfect. In 3 years, they're perfect. In 10 years, they're perfect. It's still that factor of you don't know. You truly don't know who someone is. You don't know what their past is like. You don't know what they're lying about. You don't know if they're telling the truth. Those things will come over time. I think that you shouldn't get infatuated too quickly, because you're if you get into this relationship really quick, then you're going to point back to that. You guys are perfect. You guys are soulmates. You guys are amazing, and you love each other. But the things that you truly look for, like boundaries or anything, they're just going to walk over you because you assume that everything's perfect, and that's okay. Which you don't know everything about someone. I would say you gotta wait. You gotta talk to people for longer, even if they're perfect. Because if they're the right person, you get along quicker. You want both parties to get to know if you're meant for each other.
And I get what you mean. It just comes with time of like experiencing those things, like you were saying before, like getting into an argument and seeing how like both parties act when there's a disagreement. Like, is it immediately like me versus you, or is it like us versus the problem? And I think that's super important to like you're saying in those moments to identify like those, I guess, quote unquote red flags of, well, yeah, we like had an argument and it didn't go how it should have went because we were just like yelling at each other the whole time. So I think that's important as well, right? So you would say this year and a half you've learned like a lot when it comes to relationships just based off of like dating and meeting new people.
Yeah, I would say it's the only time in my life where I was able to, because people actually accepted me. So I would say that was I've only gained everything I've known in relationships.
Mm. So I guess what would you say is like why do you think people struggle a lot when it comes to like building a deep connection within a relationship where like you're saying maybe people have been dating for like a year and it's only ever been surface level for that whole year and they struggle to like connect on a deeper level? What do you think is like the main cause of that?
I think it's important to go internally rather than externally. Really look within. Are you someone that values deep connection? Are you someone that can face the romantic connection once you get to know somebody, right? If you've never been in that spot before, I think that you just have to take the initiative and push certain things after a certain amount of time, obviously in a ethical way, but I'm saying that you have to go internally. If you're not ready to communicate, if you have these trauma, these issues, and you don't have a life that that's stable, you have fastness in your own life, it's going to be harder to connect with people, even if you're there, you're talking to each other. I think it's about understanding like what you want in a relationship before choosing another person, especially if you haven't got there in the first place and it's been a year. I'm assuming you're probably friends or maybe you're talking, maybe it's a situationship. I think that context matters a lot, but if you
Mm,
struggle with that deep connection, maybe you're dating the wrong person, maybe you're just infatuated by looks, maybe that person doesn't like you. There's a lot of different factors that come into play when it comes to developing a deep connection, but some people can do that in a month and some people will never get that in 3 years, right? It's all about understanding who you are as a person and who you choose. It depends on your goals as well. If the goal isn't to automatically rush things, then maybe you won't have a super deep connection, right? I think intention matters a lot when it comes to those relationships and understanding, well, you come first. You are the problem and the common denominator for most of the issues in your life. So if you have issues in a relationship, then you have to fix yours and not worry about fixing others as well.
mm, for sure. Why do you think personally is like um the reason for why like dating has been so difficult, I guess, for like our generation? Where it's like completely like different from, I guess, our parents or our grandparents. It's like completely different thing. Do you think it's just social media or you think it's more than that?
100%. I think that social media has took control on relationships as a whole. I mean, a lot of people nowadays, they have tons of people they can talk to, and also for men in general and women, there's a lot of idolization on celebrity crushes, and also not just that. I think that's minuscule in the grand scheme of things, but you can see a lot of lustful, provocative posts, and people are more susceptible to watch those things, do unloyal and not so faithful things with their partner. And I would say a lot of people just have a lot of options, right? People are convinced that they talk to a lot of people, and I think that social media creates non-existent problems. I mean, I think everyone knows that, but people are worrying about ghosting, response times, whatever it might be, or being dry over text. That's nothing. That's so minuscule in the grand scheme of things, right? I think it's difficult because a lot of people they don't go internally. A lot of people blame other people and for being hurt, for every shortcoming they have in their life and relationships, when in reality they are the problem. I'll hear some people say, "Well, everyone in my life has ever cheated, and I've never met someone like I've dated dozens of people. They're all cheaters." And I'm like, "That's fine. Everyone might be a bad person, but if there's a pattern, then clearly there's also a problem within, right? Someone that's has boundaries and respects themselves and is this person of love that they've built. Obviously, they're not going to attract a cheater every single time. I think there's a lot of loyal people. I know loyalty because I'm full of it. I know my friends and my family are also loyal and faithful. So I think that a lot of people will point externally, point the fingers to why they can't find love. But I look around and there's a lot of great relationships. And I think a lot of people use social media as a way to divide people up and get people to hate each other. In reality, that's not the point, right? The point is to find and connect with people and stay in touch and spread this message of positivity. But social media gets in the way of things. And it's about filtering those things out with boundaries, being the person of love in the first place. And it's probably going to take a little bit longer if I had to be honest, right? You're not going to find that person overnight. And I think that the more you compare yourself with people that are taken, if you're single, the more you're going to lament that fact that you're single or you ruin things. You just have to understand, like, you got to be patient. You got to be patient for that person to come. I'm 19. If anyone here's watching that's like 20 or 15, it's like you have a whole life ahead of you to worry about finding the right person. You'll never know what happens in 1,000 days. I mean, or 10,000 days. You know what I mean? Like, you could find someone at any moment in time. That's a lot of time to find someone that you love. It's going to be difficult to find someone in a year because, well, look around you. You know what I'm saying? There's going to be a hard environment to find those people in. If people are, you can't talk to a million people at once, but you can talk to people methodically, periodically, and you'll find someone that is true to you as long as you understand yourself and that what you do and don't want in a relationship.
And I think it's super important what you're saying. It's kind of like people play the victim card and like blame every single person around them for why like they're dealing with what they're dealing with. And I think the problem with that is that you just can never like fix it, right? Because if you put the blame on like what you're saying, like external factors, if that's like your job, if that's, you know, what your business you're trying to build, or if it's like a relationship, you immediately give the power to that thing or to that person, and you no longer can affect change because you just blame it on that outside thing. When it's like, if like you're saying, where the growth comes is like looking at yourself and reflecting and see where you went wrong, because when you're able to identify where you went wrong, you can actually make a change. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think another part of it is, like you said, the victim mindset. Your excuses might be valid. People might screw you over or whatever it might be, but in the end, if you have everything go right and people like you, let's just say you stumble across the right person. Hindsight, that was the right person for you. If you keep lamenting, if you keep dragging yourself down, at a certain point, that person isn't finding the right person. They're finding a worse version of you that you want the right person, but they're not going to want you because you keep lamenting, you keep sitting in the past. You're not that person of love. I had it where it was like, well, this person is amazing, but I was the bad person. And if you're not aware that these harmful behaviors affect you, then how can you move forward in any regard?
So what is it you're trying to say? So that you're saying is, if like if you're in a relationship and you look at yourself as like, I guess, the guilty party, or it's your fault, that that's what kind of like ends things.
In some ways, yes, but I'm trying to say that if you have someone that's objectively who you want, are you able to keep up with them emotionally? Are you able to communicate
Mm,
effectively? Are you able to be the person that you say you want to be? Because a lot of the
yeah.
times I was just so caught up in blaming my external circumstances that I was like, okay, well, everyone did me wrong. Let me just get another relationship. The right person wasn't going to fix me if I wasn't going to fix myself in the first place. Because now they're tasked with a worse version of me, if that makes sense. No, for sure. So I would just say if you get in a relationship with the right person, I said this while you were gone, just speaking to myself. If you stumble across the right person and you try to keep up with their emotional needs, you try to be that person, it's going to be a lot harder to fulfill them if you keep blaming everyone and their circumstances. Like you have to reflect on where you even went right. Even if you did everything right, you still have to reflect on any part that you may have went wrong. You can go around and point the fingers to everyone being the problem in your life, and as soon as you stumble across someone great for you, then it's going to be a lot harder for you to be with that person and be the right person for them too if you're not even the right person for yourself because they're going to make it look like you have a lot of issues when in reality it's like damn I just never took the time to go internally and
Yeah.
fix those issues.
100%. I also agree with what you're saying in terms of like, if you are with someone and you are like, you know, constantly reflecting, constantly seeing where you can improve, you're trying to fulfill them in every single way possible, and you try your best with the relationship, it's like, if that's still not enough for them, and if they like are going to say that maybe, you know, they don't want to be with you because you're not enough, you could kind of realize like, I did try my best, I did do all the things I think I needed to do, and if that still wasn't enough for that person, maybe we're not meant to be.
Yeah, I think a lot of people get caught in this trap with a few words, I love you or forever. Forever is not spoken into existence, it's acted into existence. If you constantly sacrifice for each other, you communicate, you have a understanding mutually of commitment, then obviously it's easy to fight in a relationship. But a lot of the times, I see this all the time, people are in these toxic relationships that they don't even recognize. And it's going to be a lot harder to be in that relationship and be the person you want to be, have the love you want to receive. It's like it's not a one-way street. It's not supposed to be unrequited love. It's not supposed to be anything other than what you want it to be. Like if that person does not serve you well, they do not treat you well, it gets toxic. It's time to pack your bags and realize that you can't change somebody. And then when you try to change for someone, it's going to take a toll and you're going to lose yourself slowly in the process.
So I guess my next question for you, and it kind of I guess goes off relationships. I asked you previously what was the biggest lesson you learned, but I want to ask you, what was one experience that you had during this period of time that kind of changed the course of your life when it comes to relationships in general?
That's a great question. Let me think. I would say my first relationship was over 2 years ago now. Actually, it was a very short-lived relationship, but I was always told I'd be a great boyfriend because I was loyal. I'd be there for someone. My flaws got exposed very quickly, and I was such a manipulator. I was such a bad person, and I didn't know how to communicate. I let my anxious attachment ruin and push people away. And for the longest, I just thought, how can I get this person back? How can I do this, do that? And all I thought about was revenge and getting back at them. But in reality, I fast forward like a year later. It took me a year to realize after missing them, I actually was the problem. I never realized that I was the problem because I was like, well, how can you leave someone that's loyal and would fight for a relationship and give you everything you wanted? But I realized like it doesn't matter if you're this god awful communicator and you couldn't even provide them for what they needed. It was like it hit me when I realized that I was the problem and that I needed to stop. I needed to respect them and realize that I hurt them. And moving forward, I just need to treat someone even better.
I see, for sure. No, it's crazy that, like, because I had like a similar experience, I guess, with my first relationship where it was like short lived, but you kind of take away a lot from it based on, like, I guess, what happens from it. And I think that's important, like with anything in life. It's like sometimes it's not about how long something is, where like it could be short lived, but you could also still learn a lot from it that you could take away to like everything in your life. Would you say you have become the type of person that reflects on everything, like even if it's not relationships, if it's like work or a different experience in your life where you kind of reflect on like where you can grow?
Every single time, every single opportunity I can. I mean, if I ever say something that I think affects people in the wrong way, I try to leave with my bestest of intentions. I try to be kind, do acts of niceness. If there's ever a point in time where a joke comes off wrong or I just didn't do enough, I'll always reflect, think, well, what could I have done better? Even if it's just work, friendships, romantic relationship, any room for improvement, I realize that I can become a step closer to the person I want to become. Understanding that it's just a matter of reflecting, redefining my perspective, and taking action going forward. There's nothing else. That change comes in action. If I believe, well, there's nothing wrong, I just got away with it. If that situation ever comes about again and I have to deal with it again, I'm going to make the same mistake. So
Hmm.
it's about not making the same mistake twice, even if it was something where it wasn't inherently my fault. I think that I have a crazy amount of accountability, not to be confused with self loathing and lamenting the past, being sad at myself. I mean, every single situation that comes my way. If I could have done better, I will do better. And that's how I think about things.
Yeah, I think that's very important when it comes to self improvement in general, is just taking accountability for all the things that you can. Because, like I was saying earlier, when you take accountability, you're able to affect change, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Because the only thing that the brain cares about, it doesn't care about how you feel or how you think. You might heal over time, but the truth is that no one's going to truly move on for you because there's people that miss their romantic partners years down the line. They'll go through their whole lifetime and they'll just realize like, damn, like this one person. I'm like, you're still hurt. You're going through life hurt, and you're not even realizing. You have to be accountable. Sit down with yourself and realize that you are hurt. If you just keep running from the problems, you can get away with it. There's so many people that get away with it. I mean, a narcissist can run through life just acting super charming, confident, and be themselves and get everything they want, but they run from the ego, the fragile insecurity they have. It's like, well, you can run from it, but you know that you have those problems in the end. No one's going to hold you accountable. It's just the quality of life could be so much better and you could feel so much better and not have these highs and lows that are just so inconsistent if you just take the accountability to just really reflect and just sit with yourself. Be accountable because what's the harm in doing so? Why would you want to take accountability? It's like, well, your quality of life can improve so much if you get into better shape, better mental well being. It's just everything improves with the more accountability you have to sit down with yourself.
100%. So, Ace, I only have two more questions for you, and these are like questions that I usually ask all our guests. And the first one is, what is one thing that you are like most proud of when it comes to like your self growth? Out of like all the things we've spoken about, what is like one thing you could point to that you're like really proud that maybe you overcame or that you changed for the better?
It's a good question because honestly, I'm not the person with the most accomplishments in my own life personally, when I think about it from an objective sense, or when I try to give myself props. But I think that after failing tons of high school classes, I think getting back on my 2 feet and going to I'm in community college, but being able to fail classes in high school to just really turning it around and going from like a 2 GPA to like a nearly a 4.0 GPA meant a lot to me doing the hard work. I think that I became a scholar for my school. So I realized like I was screwed if I just kept dwelling in my own ways, if I just kept failing school, if I kept skipping class, sleeping in, being the person I was, I would have never been the person I am today. I think that matters a lot to me personally because now I have something to look forward to. It built this domino effect of where I am today. I would obviously say I'm proud of the platform I built, but I think that I'm more satisfied with how many people I've helped. I think that matters a lot to me. I feel like in some regards social media kind of saved me because I receive so many great messages and it makes me feel even more fulfilled that this is what I'm doing. So I think that being a good student mattered a lot to me and also being able to build a platform where I can help people. And also this is really cliche, but I got an A in public speaking after being in speech therapy for the majority of my life. I think I hold that to my own. That was good. I've been a terrible communicator my whole life. So that's super small, but I'm really proud of myself because I always receive the compliment. You're well spoken. You articulate yourself well. And I think you should hear me in my old YouTube videos or my old speaking videos from when I was a kid. I had a lisp. I stuttered. I couldn't enunciate things. I was far from the person I am today.
For sure. So I guess my last question, I ask every single guest this at the end of the episode, and that is, Ace, how do you want to be remembered?
That's a good question. I had never thought of that question, honestly. I think that I just want to be remembered as someone who helped people live the lives that I never got to live. In my teenage years, I never played sports. I never did clubs or activities. I never hung out with friends. And if people go through the same issues as me and they relate to my videos, I want to be able to help people as much as I could possibly give because I know how much that matters in your own developmental lives, how that affects you into your young adult years. And if I had never got off my 2 feet and improved my life, I probably wouldn't even be here. So I know how much that can impact someone just dwelling, doom scrolling, being far from the person they want to be. I want to be able to help people live that type of life and give that guidance. I upload videos through a screen, like this webcam right here. That's all I do. I just upload videos through a screen, but I realize that that camera and a few words can impact someone's lives if they really apply themselves, take notes, and try to lead with good intentions. If I saw my own videos from when I was 15 years old, this would be my favorite account. That's why I try to speak about the things that I do. It's because I want to be the person that I needed when I was 15, 13, 17, because I would be in a so much better spot now, better financially, relationship wise, mentally, physically. I would be in such a better spot, but I didn't have that knowledge. I didn't know how to apply myself. I felt alone. So for anyone watching out there, I respond to messages too. Like I respond to every single DM. I've received thousands of DMs, but I've slowly chip away at responding to everyone because everyone deserves the feeling of being seen and being heard. And I'm just another human being. I've only been uploading social media consistently for 2 months. I'm not this self-proclaimed therapist or authority figure or influencer. I might have a bigger following now than I did 2 months ago, but that doesn't change me as a person. I'm still as humble as I could try to be because helping people is what matters. And if I could help people individually through my videos, through client work, then that's what I want to be remembered for is changing people's lives and perspectives and challenging their own beliefs. I mean, I had someone come to me in my DMs and they're like, my boyfriend does this, does that, and I'm just convincing myself that it's love, and I'm like, they don't even do the bare minimum. So I convinced them like, you need to break free from that toxic relationship. And a day later, they're like, I broke up with my boyfriend after that toxic relationship. So if they think about me, then all they think about is I thank Ace for getting me out of that situation and telling me what I needed to hear. Maybe the impact could be the exact same from for other people. So I really hold that to myself. Like I really pride that. I really appreciate that. Maybe I could do that because I have a lot of creators that I watch on a day-to-day basis, especially in my own field. Religiously watch a lot of Zerky videos, or I watch Pierce a lot, and I watch Higher Up Wellness a lot. Just as the people I follow on social media, just conversing with some of these people makes me realize like my impact is like I still have like a decent amount of impact compared to them. And like if I could have the same feeling that I have for these creators when I watch them, if someone has that for me, I realize I actually do have a lot more impact than I personally think. So if I can impact people and change their perspectives about relationships themselves, then that's who I would want to be remembered as.
Truly amazing, bro. I think it was very well said how you kind of put everything together and how you're doing exactly what you say you want to do right now on the scale that you're doing it. And I know like in the future it's just going to be on an even bigger scale. And I know people that listen to this episode definitely took a lot away from it. And I know that for a fact because I definitely did. And it will be like one of the podcasts that I'll watch back like completely and, you know, learn from it. So I want to thank you for like being on and sharing your perspective and kind of sharing your journey as well, because I know for a lot of people that could be difficult. So it's like it won't go like underappreciated. I appreciate it a lot that you're able to come on and kind of share your story and talk for an hour with me. And maybe in the future we could do a part 2.
Yeah, I would love to. I think this was a great episode. You asked a lot of great questions. And personally, I'm pretty nervous. Stuttered a lot. I lost my train of thought a lot. I've never had a co-host, and when I do things, I listen to my own podcast back because this is gonna sound so narcissistic, but the only podcast I really listen to is myself. I have 3 podcasts. I listen to all 3 of them back. I listen to a lot of my videos that I have just unlisted on YouTube and everything, and I just think back to how I sound, like the way I sound now, but I didn't think I gave the greatest advice or anything this episode. So I think I'll only continue to improve. I'll listen to it back and think, damn man, what was I saying? I was stuttering, I was doing this and that, but I realized over time that I probably do a little bit better than I think I did. So yeah. I'm glad you had me on the episode. I mean, I've never had someone reach out, so I'm very blessed to be here.
For sure. So to everyone watching, remember to like, comment, subscribe, follow us on Spotify. And is there anything you want to say before we cut it out, Ace?
Man, I say this to everyone in my closing statements when I talk to them through DMs. I say discipline in private builds confidence in public. Remember, your confidence without evidence is delusion. Take action right now. Do not wait for a single time and moment to get started, because that is the one thing I wish I would have known sooner, is that you cannot shout affirmations in the mirror. This is like a Higher Up Wellness quote, but it's something that I truly believe is you got to start now. For anyone that wants to start to upload videos, I get a lot of advice in general, but how do I do this? How do I do that? Whatever you think is the first step, you have critical thinking too. You're asking me, but if I just relay a question back that just challenges your own belief system, it's really you asking a question that you just haven't asked yourself yet. So just ask yourself, what could I really do if I wanted to start, if I wanted to move on? It's really simple. It's not easy, but really sit alone, challenge your own beliefs. It does a lot more for you than you think, and it's something that I do every single day, especially when I write, read, speak, and watch my own videos back.
For sure. Well, to everyone watching, we're going to close it out here. Thank you for making it this far, and I'll catch you guys on the next episode.
Love you all.
Brush a cold to a diamond, eyes forever shining. Your beauty alone inspire a nigga to rhyming.